I don't know when I first heard it, the sound, but I know when it started to haunt me. It was faint at first, like a low, indistinct murmur, just on the edge of my hearing. I remember brushing it off, thinking it was the house settling or the wind slipping through the cracks of the old windows. But then, over time, it grew louder. No matter where I was in the house, the sound would find me. It started to feel like something was trying to talk to me. Whispers, distorted and incomprehensible, but unmistakable. I'd moved into this place to escape the noise of the world, to find some solitude. A little cottage at the edge of town, nestled against a thick forest. It seemed perfect at the time, remote, isolated, away from everyone. But now, the house felt suffocating. The walls weren't just old, they were wrong. They whispered, they creaked, they breathed. The first night, I truly felt it was when I went to bed, only to be woken by something scraping against the wall. A slow, dragging sound, like fingernails tracing the surface, agonizingly drawn out. My heart hammered in my chest as I turned on the light, but the room was empty. No cracks in the plaster, no sign of anything. I chalked it up to nerves. Old houses have their quirks. But then, as I lay back down, the whispers started. I tried to ignore them, to convince myself it was just my imagination. But each night the sound grew more distinct, clearer. I could almost make out words, but they were broken, fragmented, like they were coming from somewhere deep within the walls themselves. It wasn't just a noise anymore. It felt like an invitation to listen. I couldn't stand it. I had to find the source. It was the only thing that consumed my thoughts, this need to understand what was hiding behind the plaster. One evening, after hours of pacing, I finally decided to tear down the wallpaper in the guest room, the room where the sound seemed to come from most often. As I scraped away the delicate floral print, the air grew heavier. My hands shook with anticipation and dread. Beneath the wallpaper, there was a strange discoloration in the wall, a patch that looked darker, almost like something was seeping from within. I took a hammer and chisel to the spot, chipping away at the uneven surface. After what felt like an eternity, I broke through. Behind the wall was a hollow space, cold and damp. I reached in with trembling fingers and pulled out something wrapped in old, rotting fabric. It was a book. The pages were yellowed and brittle, the words written in a language I didn't recognize. As I flipped through it, my stomach twisted. Some of the pages were covered in strange symbols, others in drawings that made my skin crawl. Figures with long, elongated limbs and hollow eyes, their mouths open in silent screams. Then I found the last page. It was a sketch of my own house, but there was something wrong about it. The walls weren't straight, they seemed to bulge and twist. And there, in the dark corner of the drawing, was something standing, watching. It was hard to make out at first, but then my heart stopped. It was me, my figure, but wrong, twisted, with eyes that were too wide, and a smile that wasn't mine. A chill ran down my spine, and I felt the whispers grow louder in my ears. They weren't whispers anymore. They were screams. I dropped the book, but it didn't hit the ground. It floated, suspended in midair before falling slowly to the floor with a sound like wet paper tearing. I backed away, my breath shallow, eyes scanning the room for any sign of movement. That's when I heard it. Footsteps from the hallway.